Hello everyone and welcome to the showcase. My name is Nick and I'm the head of product at ACADS-BSG for HVAC. So I also lead the technical support and development of CAMEL+ as well as our CAMEL+Cnect software. Also with us here today, helping me out in the background is Byron, who's the general manager at ACADS-BSG. So today I'll be doing a demo of the newest member of our CAMEL+Cnect family, the 3D Builder. It's a separate product from CAMEL+Cnect for Revit, which is our Revit integration. In the 3D Builder, we just use your PDF layouts as the input. We'll be using our ACADS-BSG Q&A platform for the session today, and the QR code and link for that is up on the screen now. So that's just this one here. I will also share that towards the end of my presentation before we jump into the Q&A. But if you're able to get that up now, even better. Let's move on. Now, I'll show you how it all works in just a moment. But first, let's start off by looking at what the main problem is with heat load calculation setup. If you've been to our CAMEL+Cnect for Revit showcase, this slide might look familiar to you because it's the same problem that we're dealing with here. By far and away, especially on medium to large size projects, the majority of time is spent manually measuring your building and all the rooms you're planning to air condition. So we're talking things like floor areas for each and every room, wall dimensions, so all external walls and any internal walls that you plan to treat as partitions. All windows, you need to measure the height, width, and positioning of those windows and create a window types list. And shading can be a pain to set up as well. So it's a lot of manual work and it detracts from the time that you should be spending on the actual design work and engineering decisions. The other aspect is minimizing human error, because right now you have to do all the measurements in one place and then you have to go and manually enter in everything into CAMEL+. Errors could be made on either side of that equation, and if they go unnoticed, you could get the wrong size unit going into the room, which is unnecessary capital cost if the unit's oversized, or potentially even bigger problems if the unit is undersized. So the CAMEL+Cnect 3D Builder is our new app that we've designed to solve these issues. And the great thing about it is you can use it on any project. You don't need a Revit model, you just need your PDF floor plans as a starting point. So we'll go through this workflow in detail once we get to the actual app. But just as a high-level overview, it starts with you importing your PDF layouts for each floor of the building. Over that, you then can trace your rooms within a 2D canvas, and then it generates a 3D model as you go. You'll then set up your AHUs and zones, and you'll see it's a similar workflow to CAMEL+ in that you've got the tree structure screens with your AHUs, zones, and rooms in that hierarchy. We've brought that into the 3D Builder so you can now assign your rooms to it visually from the layout directly. And then you go through the process of assigning the wall types. Now, walls are automatically detected as internal or external based on what you've drawn in the 2D canvas. And we also have an automatic partitioning feature as well. Because you're assigning which rooms are conditioned and not conditioned in this step before, we're able to automatically generate partitions between conditioned rooms and adjacent non-conditioned spaces for you and automatically calculate that area that needs to go into the partition screen. You then go through and add your windows and shadings. So you can drop windows onto any wall, and you can add overhangs, fins, and reveals, just like you do in CAMEL+. But in the case of the 3D Builder, you can do so visually on the layout and see that reflected in the 3D view of the building as well. At the end of the workflow, you'll export to CAMEL+, so all those measurements are transported over into the normal CAMEL+ input screens, where you can finish off your engineering inputs and then run the calculation from there. And there's also another output of the 3D Builder in that you can export to PDF. So that exports a PDF report of basically all the inputs that you've entered into the 3D Builder. And the key thing there is that it can also export PDF layouts. So all the PDFs that you've imported in that first step, we take those and layer on the HVAC zoning that you set up, or your wall type assignments, or your partition areas. That all goes onto the PDFs as separate layers that you can toggle on and off. So I'll show you that feature towards the end of the demo there. So what are the key value outcomes here? Well, as I mentioned, we save time and money, we have improved accuracy, and we minimize the opportunities for human error. So that's enough talking about it. Let me jump in and show you how it all works using an example project. Again, the Q&A is just here. So if you scan that, join the Q&A room. Feel free to ask any questions as we go. We'll have a section at the end where I'll go through all the questions and we can cover anything further that you wanted to look at as well. All right, let's jump over to CAMEL+. Now, when you have a 3D Builder license, if you go to and click Create New Project, it'll give you the option to create the project using the 3D Builder. If you click Yes, which we'll do now, it'll take you to the 3D Builder. If you click No there, it'll just create a normal CAMEL+ project and take you to CAMEL+ as it does usually. But as you can see here, this is what the 3D Builder looks like. When you first get in, it will ask you some questions about the base floor that it needs to set up. So we'll just keep ground floor. We can edit the name. We can edit the floor-to-floor height and also the ceiling height. And we can tick whether or not this floor has a roof on top of it by default. So I'll just go ahead and accept the defaults there. And now we add our PDF underlay. So I'll just select our example PDF for today. And if it's got multiple pages on that PDF, you then select which page you want to apply to, in this case, ground floor. So I'll go use page 1. And now it asks you to calibrate the scale of the PDF. So there's two ways you can do that. Firstly, you can just enter in the scale if you know it directly here. So 1 to 100 in this case for the PDF. Or you can use this 2-point calibration method if there's a dimension on the drawing. So you can click from point to point and then enter in that dimension's distance, so 8.9 meters, and then you can see it calculates the scale for you. So that can be useful even just as a sense check to make sure that you've got the right scale, because even if there's a scale written on the PDF, the actual PDF might have been saved in a different size. So it's one thing to just double check that you've got the right scale set up there. I'll just go ahead and type in 1 to 100 manually, as I know that's correct for this PDF. And then you'll see that goes as a background. And now we layer or we draw our rooms over the top of this background. And up the top right here are the different tools we have for that. So the main ones are the rectangle tool, and the shortcut for that is the R key. And polygon tool, which the shortcut for that is P. So these are the two main ones. We'll cover the other ones as well as we go. But if I just hit R there, and then I can start drawing, or the PDF, sorry, drawing over the top of the PDF there. And I'll just box out my rooms over what I can see on the layout there. And you'll see as I go, it snaps to the existing rooms that are there. So it'll snap to edges, it'll snap to corner points, just to help you, or just to make the process easier. So it's just a matter of going through, boxing that out. You do also have, so this area here is all just amenities. I'll just block that out as one room and I'll set that to unconditioned. For areas like this, we can use the polygon tool. So P is the shortcut for that. And then here I can just click on all the vertices, and that has that room created there. Same thing for this area. And then a couple more rooms across here. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to just box out, and we've finished the level there. We've also got a feature up here to reset the room names. And if you click on that, it will just reorder all the room numbers from left to right and top to bottom as per your layout. But of course, you can click on any room and manually enter the name there as well. If you wanted to go through and name each room, that's fine as well. So that's it for generating the rooms. We'll go ahead and add the second level on top of that as well while we're at it. So if we go to the level selector down the bottom here, we can go add floor, type in a name for the floor, adjust the floor-to-floor height and ceiling height. I will actually tick the roof box for this one and go add. And you can see here that we've got a ghost layer of the rooms below, and that's so that we can clearly or easily line up our building, particularly the envelope, so we don't get sort of a Jenga tower. Make sure that envelope is clearly aligned, and so as you're drawing the rooms here, it'll snap to the floor below as well. Of course, we also want to add in our PDF background, so we'll go ahead and do that by clicking the Add PDF button down the bottom. Go back to that same PDF, this time selecting page 2. Scale is the same, so I'll go ahead and accept that. And now the important thing to remember here is to make sure that your PDFs are lined up. So if we click this Move button down the bottom toolbar, you'll see in red is the floor that we laid below on ground floor. And what we want to do is just drag and drop our current floor, so the first floor PDF, so that it lines up with the floor below. And that will just mean that, well, first of all, we're drawing in the right spot, but also in conjunction with the snapping to the rooms below, it just makes our job a lot easier and we get a lot cleaner result. So it's just a matter of going through boxing that out again. I'll show you a couple of the other functions. So if I say did some boxes over some more of the areas, so maybe I'll box that out there. I'll show you a little box this one out. So you can also use split rooms feature, and there's a fill feature. So if I created a little dummy room out here, the next tool here we have is fill void. So that will fill in any region that is completely bounded by other rooms. So if I click here, that now creates a room there. Delete that dummy room there as well. The next one is a split rooms feature. Shortcut for that is X. And that allows us to say I've created this room here, but there's a wall through the middle of it. I can draw in dividing lines to divide that up. And then either click confirm or press X again to confirm that. So that can be a quicker way if you just want to box things out and then split afterwards. That could be a quick way of doing it, depending on geometry as well. So pretty quickly, we've got another line here that we want to split. So pretty quickly, we're able to draw out our room layouts for the 2 floors. Now, we'll go through and do the zoning for both levels as well. So I'll block out this amenities and the plant area here. So I'll select both of those by holding down Control and left-clicking both the rooms. And then if I right-click and go Set as Unconditioned, that will let the 3D Builder know that these are unconditioned rooms and automatically generate partitions to them. And then we'll go ahead and do the zoning for the rest of the floor. So on the left here, we have our tree structure screen, similar to what we have in CAMEL+. And we've got just the placeholder AHU and a zone. So if I click on the zone and click the Assign Rooms button, the shortcut for that is A, then I can click on rooms that I want to assign to that AHU. And then I can also click the plus to create a new AHU, click that zone, and then click the rooms. But there is a bit of a faster way of doing that. If you click the backtick key or the tilde, so the key to the left of the number 1 on your keyboard, that creates a new AHU and also selects the zone of that AHU. So if I click that button and then just click on the layout, that's a really quick way of creating an AHU and then assigning rooms to it as well. So go ahead and do that. Those. So that's level 1 done. Sorry, ground floor done. We can jump over to level 1 now and do the same sort of thing. I'll press again the tilde or the backtick key to create an AHU. I'll engage assign rooms mode by clicking A, and you can also box select rooms as well. So if you've got a bunch of rooms that are all on the same AHU, you can just box select those. Box select those. The box selection works as it does in Revit and CAD in that you can have a crossing selection if you go from right to left, or if you go from left to right, it will select all the rooms that are fully enclosed by the box. So yeah, we can go ahead and do that. What have we got? That's it. Choose. This is, we'll just call that unconditioned. And maybe I'll create one more. In fact, don't need that. If you want to, say, copy a zone or use the same zone for another room, so you can click on that, click on the room. When you click on the room, it will select that zone. Then I can click A, and then I can click on the other rooms I want to assign to that same zone. So that's just a way of, I guess, copying over the zone to some unassigned rooms and reassigning that. So that's the AHU setup done. So a few different ways you can get there, as I've shown. The next tab here is the wall and roof types tab. So here we can firstly see the walls that have been classified as external, which are the darker black, and internal are the lighter gray. And we can also see that there have been some partitions automatically assigned between these conditioned rooms and the unconditioned spaces through the middle here. So you can go ahead and type in U values for your wall types. It will just create a single wall type by default. You can add new wall types if you like. And then so you can either add a custom wall type, or we've recently just added in our standard library as well, the same one that we have in CAMEL+. So here you can select from the standard library, select your wall type and go apply. And then that will also appear in this table as a special column. So to reassign walls, we can just select any of the walls that we want. And up the top here, wall type is currently this W1. We can reassign that to, say, that standard wall type that we just added to our list, or any other wall type that we create. So I'll go ahead and just fill in some dummy values for that custom wall type. Same thing for the roof. All of it's assigned to a placeholder roof type by default, but you can create and modify that if you need. To change the roof type assignment, you click the room itself, and then you'll see roof type is one of the properties up in the room properties bar here. So I can assign that as R1, for example. Although there is no roof on ground floor, perhaps if I jump up to level 1, I can better show that. So you can see any rooms that have a roof on it have this little hat, red hat on top of the room name. They also show up as a darker sort of bluey gray color on the 3D view. So say if I wanted to remove the room from these couple of rooms, I can go roof type and then just put none. You can see that's now removed the roof type from those two rooms. Or similarly, I could assign them to a different roof type that I'd set up. We'll jump back down to level 1, or ground floor rather. And lastly, we've got the internal wall types input field here. And this doesn't directly port over to CAMEL+ because there is no internal wall types in CAMEL+, as you know. But what it does do is it pre-fills any partitions that have internal walls of that, or that have been assigned to that internal wall. So say if I input 2.5 there, and I click one of the rooms that have the partitions generated for it, you can see that 2.5 is now automatically populated as the U value for that partition there. And you can also see it's automatically calculated the area across there, and it's set a placeholder P flag and cool flag and heat flag as P.5 for an unconditioned space. Of course, you can modify that as needed. And if I jump up to level 1, you'll see it also, not only does it look at the partitions from rooms adjacent to it, but it also looks above and below. We can see this conditioned room here is sitting above, if we go back down to ground floor, it's sitting above our plant room. So it's calculated this partial area here. If we click on that room, you can see it's got the floor, and that 12.6 meters squared is this hatched area that you can see where it's sitting above the plant room. So that's been automatically calculated for us, and that'll export over to the partition screen in CAMEL+. So that's it for the wall and roof type screen. We'll move on to the window types, and here is where you place all your windows. So we'll go add, and you'll see it's a similar, or the same input fields as we get in CAMEL+. So we're adding a window type. We specify the height and width. One time saving is that we've got on the width field, we can go use this measure tool. So if I click on that, we can actually measure off the PDF. So if I click from point to point where that window is, it sets that width as that measurement. So it's populated the 780 there. And then if I hit the W key or click this window tool up here, I can then go and drop that window on this wall. You can also adjust the V offset and the count if you've got count and spacing if you've got multiple windows that you want to put in a group. Otherwise, if you just put the count as 1, you can go through and just individually click in each of the locations where you want to drop that window. So, we can go ahead and do that for all of these. And there's another way. We've also got the auto feature for creating windows. So if I click on that, so down this window placement toolbar down the bottom, I'll then set the height of the window. And what this does, it'll actually create the window type as you draw. So if I click from point to point here, it's created this WI2 based on where I've clicked. And a nice feature of that, or nice ability that you can use, is if we click, say, here on the wall and we draw all the way across that, it will automatically create window types and split at the room boundaries. So you can see this can be a quick way of doing floor to fully glazed windows and creating a window type for each of those. We'll go ahead and undo that. So Control Z at any point undoes your last action because that's not what we need for this project. And then I'll just go ahead and add, we've already created one of those WI2. I'll go ahead and add the other ones there. I might add another one here and measure off that. Or WI3, that's a slightly different one. So you can pretty quickly and visually go ahead and add all those windows. And then these will all get transported over to CAMEL+ once we export. If you've got similar window layouts across each level of the building, you can also copy the windows from floor to floor. So we've done this on first floor. So if I go down to the level selector, click the copy layout to under level 1. And then I just want to copy the windows in this case. If you've got the same room layout, you can copy that from level to level as well. But I'll copy all those windows down to the ground floor. You can see when I click that, that's now come in across all. If I jump down to the ground floor, you can see that's now being copied across there. I think there are a couple of differences on the ground floor though. So the plant room and that area doesn't have windows, but you get the idea. So that's window types. Lastly, we have the shading tab. And here we don't actually have any shading in this project, but if I just add an example shading, again, it's the same input fields that you see in CAMEL+. So I can go, let's just add an overhang. And the shading tool is this one here. Shortcut for that is S. And you can then just go ahead and drop that on any wall or window. So by default, we've got automatic placement on this shading placement bar here. So if I'm hovering over a window, it'll assign it to that window, which is shown in the blue. Otherwise, if I'm hovering over a wall, it'll assign the shading to the wall. If you want to force it one way or another, I can click, say, wall here. That'll just drop all the windows off the layout. And I can quickly go around and add shading to whatever we need. And then that appears in real time on the 3D view as well. So we can just go ahead and do whatever we need there. Lastly, we've also got adjacent shading. So this one here. And this allows us to draw basically just a box for an adjacent building. We can adjust the dimensions as well, the distance from our building that is. So say if I just made that a clean 5 meters. This one here is the height. So I can increase or decrease that as needed. And then this is obviously just the depth and the width of the building. So I can adjust that either here or just by dragging the handles and keeping it in line with our building. And what this does is it automatically calculates all the adjacent shading values that we need on all of these surfaces on this east face of the building. So if I click on one of the walls there, you can see the adjacent shading values, and these will get ported over to the external screen. It's calculated the distance, the left shift relative to which wall it is, height, width, depth, all these that you'd have to manually measure and enter. And it's done that for all of those walls, which obviously have differing left shift depending on which wall it is, and for both floors of the building. So that'll have differing heights depending on which floor of the building we're looking at. So that all gets automatically calculated too for you based on any walls that have line of sight to this adjacent building that we've drawn. So if I drag this up, you can see now shown in that yellow bold line, this north wall is now being partially shaded by the adjacent building that we've just drawn, and all of those values have been automatically calculated for us too now. So we'll see how these export over to CAMEL+ as well. That's it in terms of the general workflow. I'll go ahead and export all of this to CAMEL+ now. So there's a couple of buttons up the toolbar that I'll go through. Firstly, the save button. In fact, we can enter in a project name here. Clicking save will only save your work within the 3D builder. To actually push that information back to CAMEL+, we need to use this export to CAMEL+ button. So in clicking that, we can confirm the project name, go ahead and export to CAMEL+, and then that's what pushes the geometry over to CAMEL+. And then click the link. You'll see, so all of these AHUs have been created. fact, there was one more thing I was going to show you. We'll just jump back to the 3D builder. One last thing, there was also building rotation that we can do before we do the final export. So here is if you have a north arrow on your layout, we can click the base of that arrow, where that arrow is pointing, and what we want to call as building north, and then that calculates our rotation. So now that'll also be pushed to CAMEL+. Go ahead and re-export that so we can see where that lands. So we'll start at the project data screen. So that building rotation that we just measured has been pushed over to here. We'll have to set our location, but you can see the shading has been created here. So that's our overhang we created, all of the windows. And you'll see all of these, just disable the tooltips there, but all of these fields and any fields that are relating to the geometry in CAMEL+ are locked, and they can only be edited in the 3D builder. So by going and clicking this open in 3D builder button. And that's so that we don't have changes made here that corrupt the geometry and invalidate the geometry in the 3D builder. That's just a safeguard that we've implemented. If at any time you do want to disconnect from the 3D builder and just continue on with a normal project in CAMEL+, you can click this disconnect 3D builder button. But you shouldn't really need to do that because you can just edit whatever you need either in one app or another. We'll jump over to the AHU screen. So these are all the AHUs we've created. We still need to fill in our engineering inputs. So we can go ahead, just type in a bypass factor. All the floor areas and ceiling heights have come through from the 3D builder. Let's just chuck in a storage mass. You still need to enter in your outside air here. This is actually a feature we're looking at implementing in the future, where we can potentially assign space profiles in the 3D builder, which can contain people, lighting, equipment, and your ventilation requirements. And then that could get automatically pushed through to here as well. So that's something that we're actually developing at the moment. But for now, that's just a manual input. And then this is where you really start to see the time saving. So all of these external measurements, each and every surface in the project, all of those windows have now come through, adjacent shading as well in these columns. So all of this has been automatically populated, as you can see, as well as the partitions that were automatically calculated and pushed over are all here. So yeah, as I mentioned, internal screen is still a manual input for now, but keep an eye out for the space profiles feature, which should be coming quite soon. So that's really it. I mean, we can just go ahead and run the calculation in CAMEL+, and in a matter of 10-15 minutes, we've been able to generate all our geometry and run a calculation. So especially on a larger or medium to large size project, you can really save quite a lot of time by using the 3D builder. We'll jump back over to the 3D builder because there is that export to PDF feature that I wanted to show you as well. So if we go, this one here is export to PDF, and I'll go generate. So the main thing here, just go ahead and open that in Bluebeam. So the main thing, or the main benefit of this is the consolidated PDF layouts that I mentioned earlier. So I'll just swing that over to this screen. No, I don't want to read about that. Okay, so if we jump over to, so we've got the layouts for, well, shouldn't skip over all of this. We've got all our project summary, all our wall types, window types, roof types come through, as well as our shading schemes. And then we've got the consolidated PDF layouts that I mentioned. So it takes the PDF that you uploaded or that attached to the 3D builder, and it layers on all the zoning, all the room information, wall types, window types. All of these are on as separate layers in the PDF. So you can toggle these on and off as needed as well. So say if I didn't want to see the shading of the walls, we can do that. All of these are just text fields, which are initially grouped. So I can ungroup these and I can edit them, move them around as needed. So you've got full control to take this and do whatever edits you need for your own record keeping purposes. And it does that for each floor of the building. And you can see here also the partitions, areas, U values, the cool flags and heat flags that you entered into the 3D builder. So all that information is stored here. All right, let's jump back to the slides. So just to finish up, in terms of pricing, the CAMEL+Cnect 3D Builder is a separate subscription on top of your CAMEL+ account. So it's $7.99 per year per user, which works out to be roughly $66 a month. And if you've got a company account with multiple users, you can buy however many licenses you want and then assign them to whichever CAMEL+ users in your team that you need to. And you've also got freedom to move that around. So if you wanted to move the 3D Builder license from user to user, you can do that too. We're also running free 14-day trials. So if you'd like to be set up with a trial account, you can fill in the sign-up form, and the link to that is on the Q&A platform, which we can jump to in just a moment as well. Just note that the trial account is separate from your main CAMEL+ account. And lastly, just in terms of our CAMEL+Cnect for Revit subscription, it does also include the 3D builder. So $2,499 per user per year is the price of our Revit integration, and with that you also get full access to the 3D builder per user. Just on that, before we jump to the Q&A, I'll show you quickly the integration between CAMEL+Cnect for Revit and the 3D builder. So we haven't quite finalized that yet. There's some finishing touches we're doing. At the moment, it is a manual download from the 3D builder, download from Connect and then import into the 3D builder. But I'll just show you a test file here. If I can find one. Yeah, here we go. So I'll just point it to that file. And go ahead and import, and you can see, so we can get quite complex geometry from a Revit model, and then that gets brought into the 3D builder. I'd already done my zoning, HVAC zoning assignments, AHU assignments in the Connect for Revit app. So they've come through as well. And here you can just do any final adjustments you need before exporting again to CAMEL+. So this just gives you another way, if you're using the Connect for Revit app, to bring it in here, see the 3D model, make sure that you've got all your spaces accounted for. You might need to tidy it up. In this particular model, they had some spaces modeled for outdoor spaces, so we can just go ahead and delete those so that it has the correct adjacency. But then, yeah, we can just export that to CAMEL+ as an even faster workflow if you do have a good Revit model as a starting point.